going on, guys? Good morning. Hope you're having a good one. We've got our first OTA update in 2024, and good God, do we need some kind of change, a splash, a little shakeup to the Marvel Snap meta. If I see another Thanos deck, I'm gonna die. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 different buffs and 1 nerf that should hopefully do the trick. Now, let's go and start with the spiciest of changes and just knock the nerf right out of the way in Blob, who's an absolute behemoth of a card in Snap. Both by himself, getting like 40 plus power often, but he's also played in the best deck by a far margin in Thanos, and they look to take him down a bit. They're going to be taking Blob from a 6/4 with the on-reveal ability of merging your entire deck into Blob, and he'll be gaining its total power, and then the ongoing of he cannot be moved into a 6/0 where he will merge those cards from your deck until he hits 15 or more power. So in short, guys, Blob is going to eat all your cards until he is 15 or more power. Let's say he eats some and he gets up to 14, and then the next card is Infinite. He's at 34 power, right? So he's still a very good card. You don't have to worry about like 50 power Blobs anymore for the most part, but you still have a card that can consistently get over Infinite's power. And the best part about his kit and what they wanted to leave the same is nobody knows which number Blob is going to end at, right? One of my fellow content creators and Jeff Hoagland did a simulation of 10,000 Blob plays in this Thanos Lockjaw deck, and I thought this was really cool. His numbers are still very good, and most of the time, you can still expect elite play from Blob. I'm going to be honest, guys. I thought this was going to be a very tough assignment for the devs to handle. I didn't know how they were going to nerf him because what do you do about it? But I think this was the perfect middle ground. We don't often see ability changes in OTAs. I think Mobius is the only other one, and now we have that. So definitely some big shakeup in the meta. Blob arguably was the best card over the last month. I mean, just looking at the data, he was stupid good, and this should balance things out a good amount. All right, guys, let's start talking about the buffs, and let's begin with the move archetype that you guys know desperately needed some love. And Dagger is our first card that's getting a massive boost, in my opinion, going from a 2/2 when this moves to a location plus 2 power for each enemy card there to now a 2/0, but she gains plus 3 for every enemy card. I absolutely love the change, guys. You know that I was bigger on Dagger than most people. I thought Dagger was always kind of underplayed with big burst potential and could easily get kind of crazy stats. Plus 3, there has not been a lot of cards with the ability to gain plus 3, and at that, those cards got nerfed most of the time. This should definitely make Dagger much better. You have decks that are kind of small bounce moving decks that are awesome for Dagger, but also your traditional move decks combined with Hercules, that is our most recent and one of the fastest adjustments to a card we've ever seen, going from a 4/6 up to a 4/7. I want to talk about these two together. Now, I said in my video reviewing Hercules that I wanted them to take him down to 3 cost and then just forget his power. I don't care about his power. He enables cards like Dagger and Vulture so much that I was hoping that would be the change, but apparently that's probably too busted at 3 costs, and too much is going crazy, especially with the new Dagger. 4/7, on the other hand, is definitely a more respectable stat line. Combined with the new Dagger, I was already not just completely saying that the movement archetype is dead and that Hercules does offer not only fun, but some good play lines. We're definitely going to do a lot of experimentation with move. I don't think this is the end of move. We need a lot more to kind of help the archetype, but, you know, certainly steps in the right direction with a huge buff in Dagger and a pretty good buff in Hercules. Like, I need you guys to prepare yourself for some massive Dagger plays. If she moves to a location with 4 cards, she's a 2/12. If you do that twice, or you do like 4 and 3 cards, she's hitting stupid stat lines for a 2-cost card, and it has me pretty excited for a new threat that you really need in the movement archetype. Now, next up is probably my favorite buff of the entire patch, and that is Dazzler, who's getting its, like 50th adjustment at this point, going from a 3/2 with the ongoing ability of gaining plus 2 power for each location that's full on your side to a 2/2 with the exact same ability. We are inching closer and closer to a Dazzler that's actually pretty damn good. Now, Dazzler typically wants to be in Zoo decks, maybe Patriot Ultron, some Sarah decks out there. It didn't work in Surfer. She used to be a 4-cost card. No. Then 3 cost made her a little better with some location change stuff to Space Throne, making her ability work, to finally now a 2/2 with the ability to become the biggest 2-drop. Not the biggest, but pretty good, right? A 2-8. I kid you guys not, I think Dazzler can actually be a competitive option in the right decks now. She's like a 2-8 that's better than Maximus some of the times, but then she's also a 2-4 if you only have one location, and that's almost as good as Lizard. So I would expect there to be a lot of great cooks, and I'm excited for the future of Dazzler. Next up, we move to a couple of 1-drops, and we start with a card that you've had in your collection for a long damn time. She's gotten no love since the beginning of Snap. Elektra is going from a 1-1 to a 1-2, a 50% increase on her overall power. Not exactly the change I was hoping for Elektra, but I'll take it. First of all, she has some of the best variants in the game. You're getting a decent, respectable power that you can now kill their 1-cost card before Kyera comes out, which obviously is much more important these days. And you get 2 power on the board. Certainly, I can expect to see Elektra in more decks. She's not going to be like meta, but she will definitely make it in some nice deck blends and cooks out there. And overall, is a step in the right direction for a card that I think a lot of people want to be good. Now, personally, I was hoping that she would go from like a 2-0 or like a 1-0 that could kill 2-drops, and then we're cooking, right? I don't know. Does this satisfy what you were looking for in an Elektra change? But overall, should be fun. Now we move on to another 1-drop in Selene, who was a card with a lot of promise and didn't deliver because the amount of nerfs that happened to the junk archetype. She was a 1-cost, -1 power in hopes of probably some synergy with Annihilus and other options at Toxic, but she is now being boosted up 3 power from a 1-1 to a 1-2, which is kind of crazy. Man, guys, I was sad for Selene. She had so much promise, and then everything just changed so quickly because of Annihilus and Viper and all of that. However, giving her 3 power for a 1-cost card is stupid good, and her ability is definitely useful in the right meta and decks. I think Green Goblin, you have some combo synergy that you might, get more play out of now. You lose the Annihilus, but you gain +2 power. I don't really need the swap off anyway. The 2 power and nice curve is what I was probably looking for. This should be a good change tied in with our next card in Viper, who is still at a 3-cost. I hate it. I wish she was still at a 2-cost, but at least she is gaining a power point, taking her up to a 3-5 now. Now, guys, I've been pretty vocal about this change. I don't love Viper being a 3-cost. I think it just feels dumb, I'll be honest. The 2-cost you could play after Hood. You could play with Sentry on turn 6. A lot of cool uses, and it just doesn't feel right for Viper. She lost all of her momentum before she could even start on the runway. 3-5, though, is a damn good stat line. You play that with Hood, you're looking at a 3-8 in value, plus you got the Demon. I just don't think this will make junk insane, or really even much better. We'll have to see with Selene and the cooks we can come up with. I'm hoping that Viper gets, either more looked into, or other junk cards get some flavor love. I love the archetype, but this isn't going to completely solve it. 3-5, though, is definitely respectable. And for our last buff of the patch, Destroyer, my god, I've been asking for this, is going back to a 6-16 state for a long time, guys. Ever since really a month into Snap's release. They took him down to 15 power, and he's never really felt the same since. And now we've got a 16 power Destroyer with the exact same ability. I think a lot of this was because of Blob. I think Blob just had so much power. They said they're going to continue to look at the power that 6-drops can have. Destroyer just never was worth that payoff, and I think this is going to be a very unique and cool change. Bring them back, man. The Nimrod decks are fun. The lockdown armor with, Professor X, Warpath. Those decks work as well. Just had a Destroyer guide like 2 months ago, and that deck list was fire. Hopefully this brings Destroyer back up a little bit, and anytime a card that just doesn't get that much play gets love, definitely a fan, and it's cool to see. And there you guys go. That's everything to hopefully shake up the meta. I think Snap is best when it has multiple OTAs a month to keep everything more fun, fresh, because ultimately that's the best thing that Snap has going for it. Let me know what you guys think are the biggest changes from the patch in general. If you haven't already, it would really mean a ton if you guys took a second to support me. We got about 60% of you guys who watch all the time who don't subscribe, and it would be awesome to help out. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Have a great one. I'll have a move deck and or one of these other buff cards probably tomorrow. And until the next one, happy snapping.